Hello everyone, welcome to another Star Wars figure review. Since we looked at the first 12, I thought it was only natural that we should look at the last 17. These are known as the last 17, sometimes the Power of the Force, because they came on a different style card than any of the other figures, Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back. These had their own special logo, and they were much more rare because they were only released in 1985. It was only these 17 figures, and it was for a very brief time. They had a couple of vehicles released too, like the Desert Skiff, and then the Ewok Battle Wagon, which is probably one of the greatest toys I've ever seen in my life. And because at this point, Kenner was really good at making toys that people wanted, and they could do detail, amazing amount of detail. But the problem is that people weren't really interested in Star Wars at this point. There was nothing else coming out in the theaters, nothing else to get hyped up about. So Kenner decided to back up and just, give up on the Star Wars franchise. And so they stopped after this. Also, it's worth mentioning that sometimes these are called the last 15 because 2 of the Ewoks were technically released on Return of the Jedi cards. But the fact is, they were part of the Power of the Force wave. There was no extra Return of the Jedi wave. They were part of the Power of the Force. They just happened to have already printed the Return of the Jedi cards, so they just released them on those. All right, we'll just go in the order I've got them here. First is Barada from Klaatu Barada Nikto, but Barada here is the chief mechanic of Jabba's sail barge. He gets killed by Luke Skywalker pretty early in the fight over the Sarlacc. And I've actually seen a picture, I don't know if it's in one of those old storybook type things, where he's on the Jabba's main sail barge, not on one of the little skiffs. But I don't know, maybe there's a whole race of these guys and there's different types, I don't know. But the figure itself is amazing. And it's a shame they didn't release him earlier in Return of the Jedi. Just lots of detail, even though he's a little bit less detailed than the other Power of the Force figures. The face looks really good, and he's got this really wide stance. He's just a tough guy. He's a bouncer. Someone you could see getting in a fist fight, with Chewbacca or something. Really tough guy, Barada. He's one of the cheaper ones, actually, too. You can buy him on eBay for cheaper than you can most of the other Power of the Force figures. Next we have, I'm going to get this wrong, Amananon. He's the craziest looking figure ever released for Kenner. Tiny little legs, sort of, with his feet stuck, pointed in together. Huge arms and hands. This is a nightmare creature, something from your darkest dreams. He's like a slug, but he could murder you with his hands. I mean, this is something psychological. There's something wrong with somebody's, perception of reality. Your frontal lobe is deformed, or so, if you could ever imagine what this, the person who designed this is out of their minds. The detail is really great, and one of the things that I have such a hard time finding is buying on eBay just his staff. I don't need him again. You can buy him with his staff, but his staff is really crazy because it's got human shrunken heads and skulls hanging on it. He's a creepy guy, and you can see him briefly in Return of the Jedi, right at the moment when Jabba the Hutt shows C-3PO that Han Solo is still encased in carbonite, and you see him standing in the corner leaning over while all the aliens are laughing. Man, he's nuts. He's crazy. He kind of freaks me out. Then we have the 4 Ewoks that I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on. I like Ramba the best. He's this one here with the big nose. The fur detail on him is really good. So if you're going to get one, definitely get Ramba. Then we have, I think, Warrock and, Paplu and something else. There's so many Ewoks. There's 8 total Ewoks, I think, and 4 of them came out for Power of the Force line. Then there's EV-99. Really creepy figure, if you've ever read Tales from Jabba's Palace. Really sadistic. And this figure is huge, much taller than Chewbacca or any of the other figures. So if you have a display case, it's hard to fit this figure inside. There's a problem with the mold where one of the legs tends to lean to the right, so that's why I've got it standing on this disc. But the detail on here is really good. You can look on the back, you can see a screw that sort of works as a spine, gears on the legs, pistons that move the knees up and down. A lot of time and effort and detail went into making this character look good. And this one does not have the infamous third eyeball that is in the movie. It only has two, but those yellow creepy eyes are just weird. And it's got this lever on the back, so it's one of the few figures that you move the lever and the mouth moves. I think the Rancor monster is the only other Kenner creature that has anything like this. So this is kind of funny. You can actually make them talk.
We have been without an interpreter since our master got angry with our last protocol droid and disintegrated him.
EV-99. Anakin Skywalker. The ghost of Anakin Skywalker. He can't hold anything in his hands. He's just got these little stubs of fingers sticking out from under his cloak. This is the Sebastian Shaw version. Those of you youngsters who bought your DVD recently of Return of the Jedi and you've never seen the original, it is not, young Anakin Skywalker at the end. It's Sebastian Shaw. Everybody knows that. But this is one of the easiest of the Power of the Force figures that you can buy. And the reason it's so easy to find is because he was a mail-away figure on the Return of the Jedi cards. So you buy a Return of the Jedi, action figure, you mail in your UPCs, kind of like the Boba Fett deal, and they send you this. And so there's tons of these guys floating around out there. But the fact is, he's also the rarest to find on the card. Because everybody got theirs in the mail, who cares about, buying him again on the card? So there's so few of him that they go for thousands and thousands of dollars. I don't even know how to guess how expensive they are. But to find one on the card is probably the most expensive on the card figure you can buy, even more expensive than Yak Face. So it's kind of a unique thing, he's the most common, but also the rarest. Then the only Han Solo for the Power of the Force line. They could never get Harrison Ford to look right on these old figures. The closest one maybe was the Bespin Han Solo, but he's got a pretty big chest. He's sort of more bulked up than your average Han Solo figure, but he's got this bull neck. Like he just busted that collar right open. You get a button in your eye or something. And he doesn't do much, but that's okay because he's supposed to be blind, so he can't do much anyway. But he comes with this, a really cool feature that I'm glad they came out with this. It's just one of the more fun things you can do is you don't have to stick him in the freezer in an ice tray in order to recreate your carbonite scene anymore. You stick him inside, you get that creepy presence, that he's in there, even though his arms are down at his sides. That's fine, and he's got this translucent plastic carbonite chamber, and he comes out the back. I wanted to look at all the different Han Solos, and especially the carbonite ones, in a different video, so I won't spend a lot of time on this, but just compare it to the Slave 1 Han Solo and carbonite that comes with the vehicle. You can see that there's huge difference. Definitely this version is too small. This one's just about the right size. Definitely a great figure to buy, and I highly recommend it. Next, Lando Calrissian. I'm also going to do a video on Lando, so I won't go into a lot of detail, but look at that detail. He's got a holster on his side, and this is the best version of Lando. Definitely one of my favorites from the Power of the Force line. And he comes with a cape, and I've bought a few reproductions from people trying to just, fill the shelf up, get, everything, just make it look like I have everything. And unfortunately, all the reproductions I buy don't look like the original, so I don't even bother with the capes anymore. Then we have the A-Wing pilot. The A-Wing was only released for the Droids cartoon series, but they came out with a pilot for the Power of the Force line. Just goes to show they wanted to continue going, but they ended up, cutting and running. He looks a lot like the B-Wing pilot, The green jumpsuit's pretty cool. He's got that old style 1930s football helmet on.